YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, ranking my top quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. Also have some tiers at the end. We'll have some fun with that. Doing this video for every position group in the draft. We'll also have videos leading up to it, during, some live streams, and after the NFL Draft. So join us for more content on Twitter, for Twitter subs, Patreon. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. Yeah, apparently I'm pretty bold with the quarterbacks because I do have Drake Maye as my top guy in the draft. If you've been following us for the last, I don't know how long, you probably expected this. I've been a Drake Maye guy, and I'm a guy of the other quarterbacks as well. I'm a fan of the other quarterbacks as well, but yeah, this isn't anything new. It's not a change of heart, change of mind, leading up to the draft here. I've had Drake Maye 1. I'm a guy that kind of sticks with my initial gut. But I watched the tape, and I view Drake Maye as the highest upside player in this draft at the most important position. So elite grade is another quarterback with an elite grade for me, but my top, not just quarterback, but top player in the draft. He's a guy, it's a little different than last year. I had C.J. Stroud 1, and I had Bryce Young 2, if you remember. I was firm on that. They were separated. Bryce Young I was very high on, but C.J. Stroud I was way higher on. Like, there was no question for me. There was no scenario where, okay, maybe Bryce Young's better for this team, or in this scenario, like strictly 1 and 2. For Drake Maye and Caleb Williams, I think it's a little different because I am predicting Caleb Williams to be better than Drake Maye right away, first year or 2 even. Long term, though, the upside, that's where Drake Maye gets him in my mind. So it is different than last year. It's not like last year was a sure thing for me. C.J. Stroud right away and for the long haul, better than Bryce Young. It's different this year. But yeah, the one thing that stands out for Drake Maye, the prototypical size. The best quarterbacks in the NFL, they all have that prototypical elite size. Frame, height, length, all of that. And he has that at 6'4", 223 pounds, only 21 years old. So that's pretty solid as well. But so I think he has the makings. He has what it takes to be an elite quarterback, from stage 1, like when you start evaluating these players. I love that he's a very confident passer. Kind of the negative, he's a little too confident at times, but I like confidence is a huge thing when it comes to quarterbacks as well. A lot of these guys that struggle lacking confidence, they're second guessing themselves, they're thinking too much. I don't have that issue at all. I don't think anybody does with Drake Maye, so I love that. Has great arm talent, the velocity on the ball, the zip on the ball, can throw the deep ball as well. He's pret's accurate. He's not the most accurate guy on the planet, but he has accuracy, and overall arm talent is definitely there. There's people talking about his processing speed. Could it be better? I notice under pressure, it's very good, actually. When he's under pressure, which was constantly when he's getting hit, he understands, okay, this is where I got to look. This is where a guy, maybe this is the best opportunity to complete a pass. Boom, I'm throwing it there. And he has a lot of big plays, a lot of completions while getting sacked, while getting hit. And, man, he was pressured a ton out of legit quarterback prospects. Like, usually the legit quarterback prospects, not just this year, over the years, they have good offensive lines usually. And it's always the question is, how they going to be, when they're under pressure a little bit more. But Maye's tested in that category because his offensive line was not good. It was not good, and he still found ways to make plays. That is the part of him, besides the build and the arm strength, making plays while getting sacked, like insane plays, even if they're like 5-10 yard passes. That's the part that kind of reminds me of Josh Allen a little bit. Not that I have a full-blown comparison at all of Josh Allen for Drake Maye, but yeah, it's a tough body to bring down, and he's able to process and understand where he has to go to make that crazy play when under pressure. So in that specific category, I'll make that comparison, but I don't want to throw the comp out there in general. He's only started for 2 years. The 1 year he sat, he's behind Sam Howell, who was there for a while, and he was a very solid college quarterback. So people will bring up the North Carolina quarterbacks. Sam Howell's issue for the NFL. I mean, his issue in college was, he holds the ball too long and he takes sacks. And he's a little undersized height-wise. That's still his issue. So it's still there. For a guy like Trubisky, that guy, I wasn't huge on him. He wasn't he didn't wow enough, and he could not get on the field behind a guy that wasn't a Sam Howell type, and so it's a lot different. Drake Maye took over very early on, and he's been very solid given his limited reps. So I think he has a ton of upside with more reps, obviously. I think he's sneaky as a scrambler, as an athlete. He's a very good athlete, and he's a smart scrambler. Out of all the quarterbacks in the draft, which quarterback converted the most first downs on third down by using their legs? You would think, with the legs of Jayden Daniels, with the legs of Caleb Williams, even J.J. McCarthy. No, Drake Maye has crushed those guys. Who leads the NFL in that category? You would think Lamar Jackson. No, it is the very best. Patrick Mahomes leads in that category. He knows when he absolutely has to run, and he's smart with it. So I'm not going to compare him at all to Patrick Mahomes, but I do like that he's at the top of the class by a long shot. And he's the best in college football in that category, like kind of clutch runs, being a sneaky athlete, big playability all over his tape. People act like Drake Maye has, like, the way they talk, like, almost is like there's this list of negatives, but really it's just one big negative. And I understand why there's some people that are a little low on him, because they just don't like the quarterbacks that throw it up for grabs. And they watch him and they see, okay, a lot of turnover potential. If he continues to do this, he's going to continue to turn the ball over. He might turn the ball over more, so people like scratch him off, move him down the list. I think that's a little lazy. I do think you can clean up on these things. It's I don't think there's a processing issue. There isn't an arm talent issue. There isn't a toughness, a confidence issue, anything like that. He can games. North Carolina won. He can make it so he wins the games. Like, he has control. I like that. Like, he's responsible. Didn't have the best situation. I saw the only negative to me is, throw the ball away. Like, sometimes he's getting sacked and he makes a lot of plays while that's happening, but he's just like, I'm going to try to force something, just throw it up for grabs. Again, kind of going back. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes throws a deep ball for grabs. You go, that maybe that should have been picked, but somebody made a play, put his playmaker in an opportunity to make the play. Josh Allen does it a bit. He does it. Josh Allen's still up there in terms of turnovers. So in today's era, you actually can get by turnovers. How do you do it? Quarterback has to make more big plays, way more big plays than the turnovers, and you can't do it in crunch time. You can't do it at the end of games, to lose games. And I don't see that issue with Drake Maye. He has the big playability. He can go win games. He can put his team in position to win games. He's not going to have one of those brutal turnovers in the most crucial situation of the game. Don't see that. Could he put his team in position to win games, but do more than that? I see that all over his tape. So people worry, because Jameis Winston's the guy that just continues to have turnovers because, he just insists on throwing it up for grabs or not throwing the ball away. Is he going to be like that? Or is he going to be like, Josh Allen? Like, he'll turn the ball over a bit? Or even look at Josh Allen, Wyoming, early Bills, and then now he's cleaned it up. Like, relax a little bit, throw a little bit more balls away. We can't completely take that mentality out of your game. That's okay, though, because you like the confidence. So I don't view that as much of a problem as other people do. And I'm not, I mean, he can clean up on the footwork a little bit. There's some times where the way he steps up with his feet past pressure, I like. So it's not a major issue for me. I mean, every quarterback, you could say that. He's taking a lot of sacks, I suppose. I mean, his offensive line was, for an elite quarterback prospect, maybe the worst we've seen in a long time. He's a big-time player at the quarterback position with a ton of upside. I think he fits any system. I think he's going to be better in the NFL system, at North Carolina system. It's just so much upside here. List goes on. I like Drake Maye. Don't be concerned or surprised if he sits year one or if he turns the ball over a little bit, but he's going to make up for it with the big plays. If he's turning it over like crazy and he's not making any big plays, you got an issue, okay? But I don't think that's going to be the case there. So I've seen some comparisons. I threw out Josh Allen a little bit in this. He's not quite the runner as Josh Allen. I'm not saying he'll be as good as him as a prospect. I'm a little higher on him than I was Josh Allen as a prospect. See a little Justin Herbert. I've heard Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I could see a little bit of that as well. But I am a huge Drake Maye fan. I think if you've been watching, you've been ready for this. You've been ready for this. Then Caleb Williams at number 2. The different, again, Drake Maye versus Caleb Williams. Difference is for me, Maye has more approachable size. I think Williams going to be better right away. So the people that judge off of the first year or two, Williams going to be better. Again, so a lot different than my 1 and 2 last year where it's like I was full go Stroud like right away and for the long haul. It's different this year. I'm saying that Maye might struggle right away. Williams can be better. And that's where the Bears come in. Are the Bears good at developing the quarterbacks? Do they have the best luck with that? Can they afford to do that? So you could actually make the case that the Bears probably should take Caleb Williams. I mean, if I'm a GM, I'm taking the guy who I think is the best and has the most upside. But we have an elite prospect here as well. But again, the difference is the size, the upside to me. I actually think there's a little more negatives on Caleb Williams. Something I didn't list is kind of hard just to type out like on a graphic, but I don't want to say character concerns, but you use attitude. How will things be if things aren't going perfect? Is he a guy? It's the difference between Maye and Williams too. It doesn't really come into play when you talk about skill of the prospects, but will the quarterback stick around for the next contract? If things aren't great, is he going to be? Caleb Williams, a guy that I can see having fun testing free agency. That's what I'm going to say. Hard to put that in terms of a prospect evaluation, but when you're drafting and grading these guys, maybe a little bit, you do factor that in. So that's something we couldn't really fit in there on the negatives while you passing them. But there's obvious reasons to like him. I mean, he has crazy playmaking ability, and that's what you get all hyped about. Crazy playmaking ability, keeps plays alive as well as anyone. And I definitely don't love the Patrick Mahomes comparisons, because Patrick Mahomes is the best in football. He's a much different size of a quarterback and a much different quarterback in general. But in terms of keeping plays alive, sure, he's as good as any prospect you will ever see in terms of keeping plays alive. Love that. He's a great athlete, great arm talent. See that zip on the ball, the downfield throws, the throws on the run. Beautiful. I mean, you can make a crazy highlight tape on it. It's not all about the highlights, so I think that's where some people go wrong. But at the same time, if you were say who has the best highlight tape in the NFL, it's the best player, so he is made for the big time plays is my point. Great off balance, when things aren't going great in terms of the play, like under pressure and with angles too, when he has to change his throwing motion or angles or get it around a defender. So that's what I mean by that. Hard to fit that in there, but he's really good at changing his angles or moving himself to get the proper angle to make throws. Some comparisons to Aaron Rodgers, he models his game after him, and you can see it. I'm not going to full blow, I'm not a big comparison guy. There's some throughout this draft, any draft that you go, yes, I see a comparison. I don't want to force any, but I see that he tries to play like Rodgers a lot. That famous Rodgers play where he takes a one step drop, almost squats and then throws on a little bit of an angle, like really quick. It's like boom, and you see Rodgers kind of squatting there, on the replay. I saw that multiple times with Caleb Williams. So you see he tries to do things like that. It looks pretty good. I see who do I see a little bit more of? A little bit of Kyler Murray. A little bigger than him, obviously, but the way he runs, the way he plays, the way he wants to throw on the run, I see a little bit more of that. So just wow. Like that, the best quarterbacks in the NFL, they're full of those wows, those big play abilities that the big plays that go out and win games, and that's what Caleb Williams has, for the next level. The question, will he be able to get away with some of that stuff at the next level? Yeah, it's a big question as well. But why pass him? I do have a little bit more negatives for Caleb Williams. That should be some for everybody. He does look to improvise, and it's great when he has to, and he does. Again, he keeps the play alive, but there's times where it's like, man, just 3-step drop and sling it, or just keep reading. Take another second, look at your next read, scan the field, throw it. You don't have to run around like a maniac every play. I'm not saying he does it every single play, but there's times where it's like, all right, you don't absolutely have to do this. And that kind of, I guess, results in the next part. He holds the ball a little too long because he looks to improvise. He looks to just get out of the pocket and sit there until somebody comes open. There's times where you think of him as this crazy scrambler, and it's a good and bad there, but sometimes he should just take off where he's just insisting on holding the ball and throwing. And I do love that he's a pass-first guy. Because another guy we're going to talk about, Jayden Daniels, when he gets in those situations, he almost too often looks to run. So it's almost the opposite. So you do want to be a pass-first guy. That's a positive. I do like that from Caleb Williams. He's not really a runner. and it's actually a good thing. But he does hold the ball a little too long, and that resulted in a lot of sacks. There's been a lot of fumbles. I knew he's fumbled the ball. He holds the ball pretty carelessly, pretty loose back here when he's getting sacked. Knew about that. But, man, going back and watching, like, every snap again and, in maybe snaps I haven't seen, live, you start to realize that him and the running back fumbled on a lot of exchanges, whether it's, RPO, read option, or just handoffs. There was a lot of botched handoffs, and that's a weird one. Like, I'm sure that could be fixed, but what's the issue? I think a lot of time it's where he's deciding to pull it back is a little, just it kept happening. So hopefully I would imagine that could get fixed somehow, different coach. I don't know, but I thought that was odd how many times. I've never seen it pop up that many times for a single quarterback. So that popped up more than I have ever seen, 100% more than I've ever seen. A big thing is struggling against good competition. It could be different in the NFL, but that's the reason why we love CJ Stroud so much. He played good competition. He played better. We saw him against Georgia in the biggest game of his career, and he played an elite NFL game. Like, he played the best he possibly could play, and he showed what he has in him. So that was a reason to get hyped about CJ Stroud last year. Williams doesn't have that. He the opposite kind of happens in the bigger games, and it wasn't tested against big-time Pac-12 defenses too much. But, yeah, some, games, big games, wish he played a lot better. Notre Dame's defense is really solid, but he forcing things, got really confused in that game. So you wish, because the best quarterbacks in the NFL, they play better in the bigger moments, in the best games, against the best teams. So that is something, and you wish he would have won a little bit more, but the defense was so bad at USC that you do have to factor that in as well. He is a little undersized. Actually, at his pro day, when he measured at 6'1" at the combine, I was like, win. That's good news. It's still a little, it's not elite prototypical size like Drake Maye, 6'4". But I actually thought he was going to measure at 6 foot maximum, so 6'1". In the pro day, he measured at 6 foot. So which one is it? I actually think there's a difference. So he's 6 feet, 6'1", right around there. It is, the best quarterbacks. You're drafting a guy because he's elite. The best elite quarterbacks, really have that size. You got Aaron Rodgers going for him, which he likes to compare himself to. Something else I noticed when going back, I didn't notice it live. Something you notice kind of going back and watching. You rarely see him throw receivers open, which is kind of an elite thing. Something that elite quarterbacks do is where he's the reason the receiver got open and caught that ball. Otherwise, you don't really see that a lot. A lot of it is just kind of improvising, scrambling, buying time, and that which eventually it's impossible to cover for that long. Receiver will be wide open, like, hey, and he throws it right to him. Or he throws a deep ball and the guy runs into the catch. Obviously, good deep ball. You love to see those things, but it's never throwing guys completely open. But what I do like, something I wish it's so hard to list everything. That's why you got to listen to me talk. I see him move safeties with his eyes. And with the pump fake, I love that. That's like NFL stuff. That's a big thing for Caleb Williams. I think pre-snap reading things, he could be better. But as the play is developing, as it's going, and he's kind of buying himself some more time, it seems like he reads things pretty well and he knows what he needs to do. Where he needs to send his receiver, where he needs to throw to, and I've seen him several times, moving safeties just with his play. So I do love that. That's like some top tier NFL stuff. So that's where he makes some money. But I actually think there's more negatives on Williams than there is Drake Maye, maybe for the long haul. Again, I am predicting Caleb Williams to be better day one, year one, maybe year two than Drake Maye. So I'm just banking on Maye's upside there, and I do think he could be good right away. So those are my two elite prospects. I don't have an elite grade on Jayden Daniels. I would be okay with the top 10, but top 10 grade if you want to call it that. But I'm not 100% with them in the top 3. I think a lot of people are like, 1, 2, 3. Those guys are worthy of those picks. It's going to be a little close for me for Jayden Daniels of LSU here. Another incredible playmaker, won the Heisman for a reason, production at every level of the game, wins with his arms and legs. Tough to game plan for because that situation, some people giving the Lamar Jackson comparison because he could just take off and go. But he's a better maybe passer as a prospect than Lamar Jackson. So that could make it pretty tough. Got that arm talent, obviously. Pre-snap adjustments is where he's a winner. That's kind of where he kind of gets me back. Because actually, I watched him live. I love what I saw. I love the improvement, going to the SEC, improving. Watching more games back, watching the film, I've almost dropped down a little bit on him, play to play, but like the pre-snap, you can see him making reads and making adjustments for the better, protection-wise, everything, really. Pre-snap, and I love that. I love the intelligence there. I love that he's a smart guy, he's an experienced guy, and I do love that he got better when he went to play, in a tougher conference, so that he's tough as shit, too, so I love that. Love the touchdown field, the way, he got better at that this year, the way he drops it in the bucket. There was some deep balls that were a little underthrown, maybe a little bit too much air under, maybe trying to go for that touch. Did notice that a little bit, but dropping some balls in the bucket this year, quite a few of them, so I love that. My issue when going back and watching him, where I kind of dropped down a little bit on him, was, because he does kind of lock into his first, and that'll happen because his receivers are Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. He's kind of locked into that first read, and he's like, okay, this guy's going to be open. We're going to throw it to him. So a lot of that, and I've noticed a lot, and there's really not a negative with that part of it, but I noticed a lot when he has to go, when that first read isn't open, and he should be like, we're second read, third, let's scan the field, let's understand what's happening. Instead of going through his reads, he kind of puts his eyes down and looks for that running lane, and he usually runs. He's more often, what happens more often, a scramble or him throwing to those next couple reads? It's actually more of a scramble, and for the NFL, that isn't great. That isn't great. And it's good even if he gets first down with his legs. And that's where maybe like kind of the issues with Justin Fields. I'm not going to really compare the two. I think Daniels is a better prospect. But that's kind of where, Fields has all this talent, but why hasn't he figured it out? Doesn't really see open receivers, after the first read, and he kind of looking to run. He's like looking around. His eyes drop down. And it's like there's a guy open if he just looked for the second read and he takes off. And sometimes he'll break a tackle and he'll run for like 30 yards, but you go, like, as a passer, to me that was a negative play. People don't realize that, though. I saw quite a few of that with Jayden Daniels as well. Dropping the eyes because he's looking to run. So I wish I saw him, scan the field a little bit more, actually throwing that second or third read. But the times that he kind of did it, he just ended up running anyways. So I don't love that for the NFL, and that's where I'm a little iffy on a top 3 or top 5 player, maybe take one of those elite receivers, one of the offensive tackles. So it comes up a big question with the Patriots, let's say, if he's available at 3, the other 2 quarterbacks are gone. A team that has a lot of needs, you take that elite receiver, you trade back, you get a bunch of picks, just build the future, try to build the roster before the quarterback because there isn't a sure thing here. So I'm almost starting to think that. He does have a really thin frame, and he runs into a lot of contact. He took some big hits. The toughness is there. Some of those hits, some of the contact he runs into, the way he runs, like it is going to be difficult for him to stay fully healthy in the NFL. That was a little bit of a concern, Anthony Richardson, but this guy has the build like of a tank, and he was getting injured like crazy through like 3 games only. So you worry about that a little bit with Jayden Daniels. But yeah, kind of going back to maybe why he doesn't go to the second or third read. Maybe he rather basically what I'm gathering is he'd rather run than try to keep reading the field or even try to go to a super tight window or contested throw. That really isn't the case down the field. He isn't really afraid to sling it and try to drop it in the bucket. It's more so, I wish that throughout his tape with all that production, I wish there was scattered throws more. A lot of it is like a schemed up play to Neighbors on the outside or a quick slant or a deep ball to one of those guys. I wish there was more scattered, different, throws to different parts of the field. They're really, for that much production, you wish there was a little bit more consistency in that. So overall, after watching tape, I've actually dropped myself a little bit on Daniels, but where he kind of wins me back is he's smart. He knows what he's doing at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. And that's big. That is a big thing there. So you don't want to have to coach those things. It's either you figure it out or you can't. The guy understands. He understands the game. He understands the game. 4, who's been a big riser, J.J. McCarthy's growing on me as well. I actually think Daniels is closer to McCarthy than he is to Drake May and Caleb Williams. There are some people talking Jayden Daniels in the top 2 of quarterback. I don't see that. I'm surprised anybody has that. To me, it's pretty firm who the top 2 quarterbacks are. If you have Williams and Maye, that's perfectly fine too. Like, I just think those 2 should be at the top. McCarthy on the rise. There is a lot to like about him. He has a lot of upside. Well, first off, he's a winner, and quarterbacks that win at the next level, they keep their job. They if they're winning, if they're part of a winning culture, they win football games. It's people don't want winning to be a quarterback stat or a quarterback number, but it is at the end of the day. It 100% is. So it's big if he's used to winning. It's kind of contagious. He finds ways to win. He doesn't. There's quarterbacks that are talented in the NFL that kind of take the game away from their team. They're in position to win, and maybe they put them in position to win. They take it away, and they're not winners. So this guy's not going to do that. He's not going to take it away. He's going to be that winner. He's a very accurate quarterback. He sees open receivers. I mean, you wish he could be a little bit more of a quicker processor, I should say. There are schemed up plays where it's like, the dink and dunk Michigan offense they had sometimes where he gets it out real quick there. I like how he escapes pressure. Sneaky athlete, really good at getting on the run, knowing when to get outside the pocket on the run and throwing on the run, and keeping it going. Like, I'm going to throw the ball. I'm not a run-first guy. That's not what makes great quarterbacks at the end of the day. Your stats might look pretty. You might win Heisman if you run more, but that's not what makes this future NFL quarterback. So I like that play style. Again, a ton of upside with more reps, and he comes from a pro-style system. So he's an upside guy, needs more reps, wouldn't hurt to sit for a year, but at the same time, he's smart, he wins, he comes from pro-style offense. Might be pretty pro-ready more than people think. Not enough big passing plays. Again, the best quarterbacks in football, you're going wow, like the most for. Like, they're making those big plays. It's because of them those points happened, those plays happened to turn the game around, to gain momentum, to win the game, solidify the games. He doesn't really have enough of that, but I mean, he does make enough plays to win games. And I do like that throughout his tape, he's made all the throws. Like, he hasn't done a ton of like elite plays, but I see him make, there's throws throughout every part of the field, every level of the field, even on the run. There's some throws that make you wow a little bit, get some zip on behind him, so that's where he's growing on me a little bit. Some throws will end up sailing on him where everything will look good, and all of a sudden it's like whipped above a receiver's head, and there's a receiver like way behind him, but it was too short for that. And it's like the receivers almost looked at each other like, who is that to? And you don't want to see that ever. Every time I saw that, I believe the throw was to the shorter route guy. It looked like he sailed it. And a lot, where he's made some really good throws on the sideline, usually when he's on the run. When he's in the pocket throwing the sideline, some sailed and went out of bounds. So there's some sailed throws in there. Could process a little faster when he has to go through his reads. And he could end up like a glorified game manager. Like, when you take quarterback in the first round, especially in the top 10, like, he better be more than a game manager. Like, even if he's not a bust, like, I think some people give teams passes because the guys aren't busts and they're okay and they're a game manager. But I don't know, when I use a first pick, a top pick on a quarterback, like, he better be that top guy, So there's a chance he could end up like that. It could be like that early on as well. But he has grown on me a lot. I like the upside. Number 5 is going to be Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. Been around for a bit. Obviously played at Indiana, Washington. There's a lot to like about him. If it wasn't for the durability, because that's the big one for him, the negative, he'd probably go in the first round. And I am good with using a late first-round pick on him to get that fifth-year option. But incredible arm talent, especially on the downfield throws. It's just beautiful throws, the velocity on the ball, like perfect, arc on the ball, great placement, just big playability down the field, gets the ball out really quick, doesn't take a lot of sacks, and he's got great receivers. They're open. He's got great offensive line, but he doesn't take a lot of sacks. Like, he makes sure he gets the ball out. So you got to give him that. He's still making the throws. It's not like he's got these great receivers and the throws are off target or anything like that. Really experienced, obviously playing at Indiana and Washington. The big thing is injury history and durability, multiple injuries. And then even this year, that was like, as he's playing great, it's like, man, this is good. He's a good prospect. But, man, those past injuries, and the national championship comes, and you love the toughness. He sticks it out, but you could see he's beat up and he's limping around all game. And it's like, again, you love the toughness. He's sticking in there in the national championship game. He's not taking himself out. You love that, but this doesn't help his case because he's limping around all game. That's what we're worried about. You don't want that in the NFL. So there's some teams that may go like, we love the kid's talent, but I don't know how we can trust him, to stay healthy. So that could be the case. Older prospect, very close to turning 24. The Washington system is very different. Very different. Spread offense, a lot of space. It's going to be way different than playing in the NFL, like a pro-style system. And the last time he played for Indiana, which was a little closer to an NFL system, he did get hurt pretty early on. But he was struggling. He was throwing the ball to the wrong team that last year, Indiana. So that was a lot. We saw a lot of good play at Indiana, but the last time we seen him in a different system than this, perfect system for him, it didn't go great. So, but there is a lot of wow to his game. He 100% has the arm talent. 100%. The arm talent, which is the most important thing, it is definitely there. So there's a lot to like about Penix. I just feel a little bit more comfortable with him in round 2. This year I decided to kind of do it, and we didn't talk about every quarterback here. We didn't talk about every single quarterback I'll eventually rank, but this is fun. I had Maye and Caleb Williams as elite grades for me. Jayden Daniels not quite there. These are not just first round prospects. They're legit first round quarterbacks. Like they're better than just first round. For different reasons, first-round quarterbacks, they can go. I mean, Daniels might go 3rd overall. Could be a top 10 guy. McCarthy, I'd feel a little more comfortable, right around 10. With the Vikings and the Broncos pick, it could be it is a quarterback. There could be a trade up. And then next year, I came up with a tier. Basically, I'm putting the players on categories, and I'm coming up with the tier title. Round 2, late 1 to get that 5th-year option, because remember, all first-round picks have a 5th-year option in the contract. That's pretty big for quarterbacks. That's acceptable for me. If somebody takes him late, Penix and Nix. So Bo Nix would be my number 6 quarterback. Pretty tough between him and Penix. Nix got a lot better, but he did struggle in the SEC. Struggled a lot for Auburn. Doesn't have the arm talent and the other guys have, but he is accurate. He gets the ball out pretty quick. There were some throws that were a little underthrown, a little off target. A lot of them the receivers made plays on. He can escape pressure though. He's not afraid to run, throw on the run. I just feel more comfortable with him at 6. Feel more comfortable with him in the 2nd round. Best day 3 quarterback category. I put Rattler, but my sleeper is actually close. I'll probably be a little higher on the category of favorite sleeper. Poor man's Baker. I have a comparison there. When I watch Devin Leary, I'm like, this guy reminds me of Baker. He's not as good. He's not going to be as good as Baker Mayfield. But if you watch him play, it's like, got a little Baker in him. I can definitely see it right away in Devin Leary. So that was a fun category there. But Leary of Kentucky, remember, he was at NC State. He was a lot better there. Kentucky's offensive line was brutal. I mean, Levis looked better as a pro year 1 than he did last year at Kentucky. 2 years ago, Kentucky was great. But they're better running the football, and their offensive line has been pretty brutal. And Leary was constantly under pressure, even made plays while getting sacked. He doesn't have crazy downfield ability, but he's pretty damn accurate. Ball gets out on time. He can lead receivers. He can throw them open. Leary's definitely a sleeper. After the obvious top 6, it's really a battle between Rattler and Leary and Devin Leary. But Rattler, again, he was supposed to be this big time player, has that crazy arm talent. It looked good in the process so far, so I was leaning him, but seems like he's kind of cleaning up the attitude. And then the last category I had some fun with, at least he has a cannon, Joe Milton. I mean, the arm strength, the arm power, the downfield throws, even the placement on the downfield balls. It makes, and he's got the prototypical size. It's going to make somebody want to go like, I want to work with that kid. He had plenty of opportunity in Michigan, Tennessee to figure it out. Couldn't really do it. Like, remember, he was supposed to be the guy over Hendon Hooker even when he was there a few years ago, but they quickly replaced Milton with Hooker, and Hooker ended up being really good. But he just can't hit the simple throws. Everything's the same speed of 5,000 miles per hour on the throws. He's got to relax a little bit. Definitely the footwork, brushing up on that could help. But yeah, some of the underneath game and the routine stuff is so bad that you don't draft him. But there are things that stand out. I thought that was a kind of a fun tier. A guy that I would rather, there's other guys that we might grade better. They might be like a safer choice. But if you're going to use a late round pick on a quarterback, just to be a backup, you might as well go for the upside guy. So that's why I would probably rather take Milton from Tennessee over some of the other guys. So I thought this was a little fun, you know, not throw everyone. We'll keep doing this for we won't throw every single guy on these tiers, but yeah, there you have it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I know almost all the world has Caleb Williams one quarterback, so I'm probably going to get ripped in the comments. I got ripped last year for CJ Stroud. This year is different, though. I explained in the beginning of the video. But yeah, we got mock drafts coming out. We got more of these videos eventually. They're going to be scattered throughout the next several weeks here. Always talk with you guys on Twitter. Check out our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.